Friday. Get in here, everybody. Hope you're going to hang out with us as the Friday starts. We're less than a minute away. Hello, all you cats. The Great Natos and Marshall Messenger is in there. The one J. Michael T. Ex-Merlin is in there. Not the real Merlin. He's the ex-Merlin. Or maybe he's times Merlin 13 times. That could be it, too. Look at that. Pleasant Dream just popped in. Get a lot of people chatting today. Oh, we've got a lot to talk about in 30 seconds. Finally, Friday is being brought to you this week by Major Spoilers VIP and Patreon members from around the world. You can show your support for everything that we do at Major Spoilers by pointing your browser to patreon.com/Major Spoilers. Well, happy Friday to all of you. Oh, look, Ashley's picture is so small. Ashley Victoria Robinson joining us again this week. Hello, Ashley. How are you?
I'm good. I am a hobbit, so me being small is not outside of the norm.
Well,
How are you?
I'm doing just fine. We've made it to another Friday. You know, one of the things that happened this week, which, hey, big shout out to everyone that's considered an essential worker, where everyone who can get work done in groups of less than 10, because many of you may remember back in August, we had that big storm blow through, which caused the Nerd Room of Doom to flood, but it also wrecked our roof. The roof finally got fixed yesterday.
Yay! Bless the people who came and did that for you. I'm so glad.
A group of, I think it was either 8 or 9, showed up at 7:30 in the morning, and they were done by 3:30 in the afternoon. And we have a new roof. It's a little bit different color than the previous roof. That's okay. We got a new roof. All the way down to the decking they had to go. So, good times. Good times.
Dang.
Ashley...
But at least it's done.
Yes, it's done. Now we're just waiting for the siding to be replaced, which when we talked to the guy back in February, he said we have to get everyone else done first. So it might be October before you get to you. My guess is it's going to be 2021 before he gets to us just because of that. So my wife is hoping that, maybe it'll hail in the front of the house will get damaged so we can get that part taken care of too. So there we are. Ashley, please share some good news that you have for this week.
Oh, this week, hammering out the details of being in a digital Comic-Con.
Nice.
So as soon as we're allowed to chat about that, I can't wait to tell the world about that. The final pages of Jupiter Jet are almost completely drawn, and then we're passing them off to the colorist. So that's very exciting.
All good times. All good times.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about some things that are not so happy. Something that probably shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone, but Comic-Con International, the people that put on WonderCon, and the San Diego Comic-Con have announced, in fact, that the 2020 San Diego Comic-Con has been canceled.
Yes. Yeah. Mixed feelings about this, right? Because obviously such a huge bummer. It's a huge bummer for me personally, because of the economic loss that's going to mean, the networking opportunities that's going to take away, the inability to see all my Aussie friends who I only get to see at San Diego Comic-Con.
Your Ozzy Osbourne friends?
Year.
Is that what you're talking about?
Oh no, I actually meant specifically Nicholas Scott. Actual Amazon warrior queen. Nicholas
Recognizing the countless attendees save and plan for its conventions each year and how many exhibitors and stakeholders rely upon the events for a major portion of their livelihood, they had hoped the delay in this decision in anticipation that COVID-19 concerns might be lessened by the summer continuous monitoring of health advisors, and recent statements by the governors of California have made it clear that it would not be safe to move forward with our plans for this year.
And it is absolutely the correct decision.
Yeah.
Like, we can all be as mad. We can all have our nerd rage. This is 1,000% the right thing to do. I commend Comic-Con International for making this decision. They should have said it when they canceled WonderCon, but that's okay. You try your best. You got to figure stuff out, as it comes to you. What I think is most interesting about this announcement is that Emerald City Comic-Con, which typically takes place in March, bumped back to July around the same time that San Diego Comic-Con traditionally happens. So now, once again, we're waiting to see, is ReedPop going to kind of make that same concession for events that have already moved, and then they have New York in October.
I will be curious, too, to see if Planet Comic-Con, which has been moved to August, if they move that again or what they're going to do. They did send out an announcement like yesterday, I want to say, that said, here's our plans. We're still doing things, all this stuff. But here's the thing. For those of you that are upset, understandably so, everything Ashley said is correct. You're missing contact opportunities. You're missing livelihood if you're a creator or if you're someone who is involved in selling content at the show. You're missing money there.
Or you spent hundreds of dollars on a hotel room and a pass.
Now, the good thing is, for those of you who have already spent a lot of money, Comic-Con International has said you can either use your pass and apply it to next year, or you can get a refund if you want it. So there's those options. But yeah, if you've already booked a hotel and your hotel isn't going to give you a refund or any of those other things, you could potentially be out a bunch of money. So yes, there's all sorts of negative aspects of canceling the con. However, and I know this is coming on, right as possibly, and I'm not, saying this is for sure, possibly, we are right at the peak and maybe to go over to the other side. And I know that the current administration is jumping up and down and saying, open up this country by May 1st, which, whatever, listen to your scientists, listen to your doctors and do what they say.
Use your discretion.
Use your discretion.
Yeah, absolutely.
But here's the thing. Some people might decry, well, look, we're already on the back end. All it takes is for 130,000 people rubbing elbows with one another, and that stuff then gets spread back all over the country, and in fact, all over the world, and then we are right back to where we were before, or even worse. And everybody talks every year about con crud and how horrible con crud is, and that's just regular maybe a little cold or a flu. This is COVID-19 that is, killing a large percentage of the people. So a month ago, maybe just over a month ago, Ashley, you and I were sitting here the day that the South by Southwest announced that they were canceling their show. And now everybody's looking at that and saying, this was a very smart move, because if everybody had come and brought their vectors for contamination and then took them elsewhere, we could be in really big trouble. And I think the same thing is true here. Do you want to be known as the convention that killed 90% of the comic creative industry and 50% of their fan base by having a convention there? And I don't think San Diego Comic-Con wants that, nor does I think the city of San Diego want any potential lawsuits for being part of a lawsuit that said, hey, you allowed this to continue when you said you shouldn't.
I will also commend San Diego for offering refunds, because that's Emerald City, we know, offered refunds, and that was kind of touch and go. But South by Southwest in particular didn't even offer refunds. They invoked their Act of God clause, and I think that's nonsense, and I think that's disrespectful to people who come and spend thousands of dollars in your institution. So I do admire that Comic-Con International is trying to honor that. Most people are probably going to roll over, because most people like to go to Comic-Con year after year after year. So ultimately, I don't think it's going to be that much of a loss for them, but it does open up. The great thing is right, it's April now. Comic-Con is not supposed to happen until July. There's a lot of time in between to come up with digital solutions or digital alternatives, which obviously won't be the same experience as being touched by 570,000 strangers, which is my absolute nightmare. But we might get panels. We might get a digital. WonderCon had a digital sale over this past weekend. There's a lot of time to come up with a version of it so that we're not at a loss entirely. And I'm so happy that it happened the way that it happened at all, because we could have not known until July. My real concern with this lies with the city of San Diego, because as somebody who doesn't live in San Diego, the rhetoric that you always hear is that city is only in the black because of Comic-Con. And if Comic-Con's not happening this year, a lot of businesses are closing already. A lot of mom and pop shops are having to seek additional support. What is the city of San Diego going to look like next year? Now, that's not as fun as talking about Batman.
No, I mean, it certainly could be much bigger next year, with a lot more people trying to go and a lot more businesses celebrating the return of Comic-Con. And maybe the city will be even more open to renovations to the convention center and expanding the convention centers like has been talked about for years. So that's something that could certainly happen. But the alternative is hold the convention, and next year, half of San Diego isn't even there. Yeah. So think about that.
Yeah. Or we just take it to Las Vegas, which is always sort of the other solution that's offered when people complain about SD. So while I think it's ultimately a good thing, it's opened up so many questions. Like, you and I are going to be talking about this for the next year.
Oh, yeah. One J. Michael T says they really need to go virtual, as Stephen has been suggesting all along. I'd attend where before I could not physically be there. And again, I said this back when the first convention started to close, when Emerald City announced their closing. I said, everybody go virtual. Do these virtual panels. You can do it. And we are starting to see a lot of people picking up on this. When South by Southwest closed, I said, go virtual. Take these films online. And what finally happened? Amazon said, yes, we're going to take a lot of these shows and we're going to bring them online. Stephen, for years, has been saying, go direct to trade and bypass all this single issue stuff. Guess what's getting closer to happening? I will say this far and wide. Boom Studios has got the pulse of what's going on with comics, because they're releasing more OGNs now than they have in the past. And I think that's going to be a big, smart decision going forward. So
they also got that sweet Netflix
They also
deal.
did get that sweet Netflix deal that was announced this week. Let's see. Malone says it's not going to normalize until an effective vaccine or medicine is developed. Over half of the people are infected, unfortunately. Yeah, that's what we're waiting for. This is something that, and again, I'm not an expert, so don't pay attention to anything that I might say that might qualify as medical advice. But my understanding from Dr. Fauci is COVID-19 isn't going away. It's one of those things like polio, like smallpox, like chickenpox, like all these other things tuberculosis, that you have to go and get the shots for, the immunizations for.
Yep.
So until a vaccine is developed, just like the flu vaccine that you take every year, we won't be able to go and be normal, right? So yes, it's going to take time. And I think, unfortunately, I wish we could all be a little bit more patient. But as we've seen this week, a lot of people aren't even waiting. Florida beaches are opening this weekend. Santa Cruz County in California is opening their beaches this weekend. Caveat on that is apparently it is just for the people in that county, number one. And number two, it's not for sunbathing or swimming. It is for bike riding and for running. Those are the only things.
Well, but there becomes the question, right, is who is monitoring, who is enforcing those types of things.
Well, and again, that is, we need testing, right? We need better testing.
Welcome to the infrastructure portion of the show.
Yes, we need better testing, right? Because what's going to be really interesting is, sure, if these states and these counties want to, and this is not a blue state versus red state thing, because San Francisco County is definitely blue and Florida is definitely red. So what's going to be interesting is, in the next 2 weeks after they start opening these up, will we start to see a spike in cases? And if there is, then we know that is not an effective way to do it. But if there's not, then we can continue on and slowly open up. Possibly. Who knows? There were some guidelines that were put out. I think everybody needs to listen to their own governors, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. One thing I did say on the Major Spoilers pre-show and the after show, and maybe even during the Major Spoilers podcast, and if you were listening to the Dueling Review live stream that we did last night on our Discord server, you heard me say the publishers aren't going to wait much longer before they start shipping out comics again. They're not going to wait until August, from what Diamond was saying. Diamond came out just today and said, oh no, it's going to be mid-May before we can start doing it. I said, no, by the end of April, you're going to see publishers start doing stuff. And today, the other big announcement is that DC said, yeah, we're going to start shipping comics April 28th.
And then everyone who's a publishing nerd, like Steven and I said, but who's distributing?
Yeah, so that's the big question, right? How are they going to be distributing these? First of all, a couple of things that come to mind in this that really stood out for me. Number one, New Comic Book Day, according to DC, going forward for the foreseeable future, is going to be on Tuesdays instead of Wednesdays, right? So that's very, very interesting.
Which, I mean, to be
fair,
most comic stores do receive their shipments on Tuesday, and then you take the whole day processing it.
Yeah.
So it's actually not that big a shift, except in terms of you as a consumer.
Right. However, and the reason why I only bring that up is because New Book Day tends to be on Tuesdays. So my initial thought was, so DC is going and using the same distribution companies that distribute books, like Amazon or somebody like that. Nope, turns out...
a Baker and Taylor.
Yeah, it turns out that is not the case. Turns out that the two companies that will be able to deliver these are two distribution companies, one called Lunar Distributors and the other one UCS Comic Distributors, that have suddenly sprung up since the beginning of April. around the same time that DC said, we're looking into alternative methods to deliver comics to stores and to fans. Now, digging a little deeper over at bleedingcool.com, they have come up and said, hey, these are just new companies that are spinning out of comic companies that are already there. The first one, DCB Service, which has been an online distributor of comics for years. These are people, if you have in need of a comic book and you don't have a comic shop nearby, you could sign up for DCB Service and they would mail it to you. That's currently what I do with my comic book shop. I tell them what I want, they send me those comics. So DCB Service is one of these two. I think it's Lunar Distributors. The other one is Midtown Comics, which also has been dealing with shipping comics to places around the country. My understanding is that they have been handling DC's subscription service for years. So it made it a little bit easier maybe for DC to attach with them.
To integrate with them.
So if you're a comic book store, and I guess right now this is dealing only with comic book stores, so you need to contact your local comic book store and find out if they are going to be getting comics and how you might be able to get them. I know some states are still doing curbside pickup. Others are doing...
Some states are still open. Which is crazy. As someone who's going into like week 5 of self-isolation, it's crazy to me that in like Oklahoma and Wyoming, you could just live your life. Yeah.
Well, also, COVID cases in there have skyrocketed something like 2,000%. So, yeah, hold on. Boom. Okay. So here's the thing. This is really good. So we're going to start getting comics. The weird thing is, J. Michael T. and I were talking about this last night after the Dueling Review show was done recording, but we were still doing live chats with people in the Discord. Those of us with Comixology subscription accounts got word that comics like Batman number 92, Batman number 93, and The Flash were all going to be charged to us on the 28th or 29th of this month to let us know that, hey, these charges were upcoming. However, when we look at the list of comics that DC is going to be putting out, Batman 89, a third printing of that. Daphne Byrne, number 4. The Dreaming, number 20. And Nightwing, number 70, a second printing there. And Batman Giant, number 4. Those are the ones that are scheduled for Tuesday, April 28th.
Isn't that interesting?
The thing, and I saw James Tynion said, Tynion the Fourth, had said that they are waiting until everything aligns with one another. So it looks like there's still a lot of books that are going to be pushed to June. And this slow rollout is going to allow DC, Lunar Distributors, and USC Comic Distributors, DCB Service, and Midtown Comics to figure out how effective they can be at getting these comics out to people and to comic book stores in a timely manner. And then they will probably start expanding onto that. But over at majorspoilers.com, we do have the complete list of comics that are coming out in the next 3 weeks. So you might want to go check it out there. For May 5th and for May 12th as well. What are your reactions to this, Ashley? I know I said that, hey, people aren't going to wait.
Mixed feelings. I really thought Marvel was going to be the one to break the line on this, just because they are owned by a larger corporate interest that is not as focused on comics as DC seems to be. But my feelings are mixed. I'm glad I have no problem with publishers continuing to put comics out there physically or digitally. I have no issue with that whatsoever. They're a business. They're trying to protect their interests. We live in a corporatocracy. That's the way it's got to be. What I think is admirable about it is the fact that they are doing it slowly. Because remember, like 3 or 4 weeks ago where there was that company that said that they were going to do all the digital subscriptions and then they caught on fire and disintegrated like a week after everyone tried. I don't even remember what it was called anymore. So I admire the fact that they have created or come to a solution. It may not be a perfect solution. It definitely prioritizes physical over digital comics, which is a whole other debate. But I admire the fact that they're trying to do it one step at a time. So this might be a viable solution, and it might lead to an end to the monopoly over comic book distribution. So all of that stuff, long game, sounds really, really good to me. As someone...
No, go ahead. Finish up what you're going to say.
I was going to say, as someone who does read digital comics and does have a number of digital subscriptions, I think drawing the line of prioritizing one medium over the other, I think that's getting into tricky territory, especially from DC Comics that just launched a digital first series with their ongoing Batman adventures, which by the way is freaking really great. Red Hood just showed up. Good. I think that could be a slippery slope, but I'm hoping that that just for right now, we're trying to fix this problem and then we're going to reintegrate the book. That's what my hope is.
Yeah, and so that's the weird part, right? We don't know what the digital arm of this is. It is great that we're starting to get comics out there. We know that, as you said, in a capitalistic society, that businesses need to make money, and I'm sure AT&T is sitting there going, push them comic books out, you boys. And they're saying, yes, okay, let us get these done. However, here's my biggest concern. Midtown Comics is run by, what is that guy's name? Do you know the guy that runs the Midtown Comics?
I don't know his name, but I mean, I will say Midtown's always been real good to us.
Yeah, no, I'm sure.
So thank you.
No,
and
I don't want to get you in trouble with anyone.
know,
However, let's see. Let me go here and let me go and see. My understanding is the person who runs Midtown Comics is also the person who just last week was putting together a coalition of comic book stores. Hal is his name at Midtown Comics. This coalition of comic book stores that had a list of demands on how to fix the comic book industry. And for those of you that watched my little rant last week during the game stream where I broke down every single point and provided commentary on them, you know that I'm not very keen on this list, especially when it is putting a lot more onus on promotions of comics and the comic book store on the publishers and the distributors, as opposed to the stores need to be promoting themselves. And number two, one of their other big demands was, oh no, you need to make sure that print comes first and digital now needs to get a bump for 2+ weeks or more before you start selling them. And that's where I have a big problem. And so my fear is with Midtown Comics doing DC a favor, that DC will also return the favor and say, yeah, we could wait 2 weeks for digital comics to get out. And that's just not going to fly, unfortunately, for a lot of fans. I think you're going to see a lot of people very upset about that. And if you read the comment section from where that list was posted, a lot of people are like, yeah, I don't agree with the digital comics. I don't see why that's a big problem. And it goes back to what I've been saying for a long time. If you're blaming digital comics for the failure of your comic book store, you need to be looking in the mirror at yourself, because you are the reason your comic book store is failing, not digital comics.
It's going to be a tough road to hoe, right? Yeah. And you have to know that if the people who own brick and mortar stores, of course, that's going to be their number one interest. And you would hope that, and we don't know if DC is necessarily going to go along with these or anything like this. This is all just conjecture. But you would hope that as the publisher that you're looking at the bigger picture, you're not just looking at one interest over another. Again, sort of from a business standpoint. But ultimately, if DC or Marvel or even Boom or anyone decides that they're going to wait 2 weeks to do digital comics, all you're doing is putting more money in the hands of Read Comics Online and sites like that pirate your comics.
Yeah, you're right.
Because if people want it, they will get it, and they will get it by the easiest way possible. The easiest way possible in terms of digital right now is to go to Comixology and pay $2.99 or $9.99 or 99 cents. They're running so many incredible
sales.
They are,
you guys definitely
have to get on them.
And that's the problem that I still have, and I kind of wish that that Comixology and Amazon and Apple had not gotten into a big tiff like they did, because I firmly believe that Steve Jobs could have sat down and talked with all the publishers and talked with Amazon and said, look, just like he did with the music industry, and said it's not selling individual songs for $3.99, it's selling individual songs for 99 cents. And the music industry rebounded and had huge success because of that. It's not pirating. People just don't want to pay $5 for a digital comic. They want to pay 99 cents for a digital comic, or 99 cents for a digital song. And I wish he was still around and could have gotten it through all of those people and to come to an agreement. Now, I understand with Comixology and Amazon that a lot of that is because Apple was like, you want to use our little button? Then it's going to cost you 33 cents on the dollar. And that's where the big breakdown between Amazon and Apple parted company. It's a pain in the butt.
But people will pay for convenience.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying. But apparently that was too much for Jeff Bezos. Speaking of Jeff Bezos, thank you to everybody who has subscribed to our Twitch channel. I saw the stars coming up. I saw the new follows coming up. Thank you. Remember, you can use your Twitch Prime account. I think Kevin 11 had it scroll by just a little bit ago. If you're an Amazon Prime member, you have free Twitch subscriptions. You can click on that purple button at the top of the page and directly support Major Spoilers. Doesn't cost you anything extra. You take $5 right out of Jeff Bezos's pocket. So there you go.
You go.
Do it.
He doesn't need it.
Do it. So Comic books are coming back sooner than anyone thought. Diamond responded. So first thing happened was we saw last week Alterna Comics was saying that they had heard word from Diamond that it was going to be until August before new comics were going to be on the stands. So they decided, hey, we're breaking with Diamond, and we're going to go get comics out through different ways, and people can order directly through our store. DC had been saying for a couple of weeks that we're looking for alternatives. Then this morning or yesterday, Diamond said, hey, looks like it's going to be mid-May before we're able to start shipping new comics. DC comes out and says, nope, we're not waiting that long, because Diamond, of course, said circumstances weren't, providing that we're in the proper phase. Then DC said, hey, we're going to go ahead and do this at the end of April anyway. And then Diamond responds with, we value our partnership with DC and will continue to support them as a distributor. Our focus is squarely on getting our industry's entertainment products in the hands of fans as quickly and as safely as possible. You can read that statement.
Yeah, well, they still owe DC a lot of money, so they got to be
that is a big thing, right? They also said they weren't going to be paying everybody full price. So I know all of these things are coming together, and it has been an incredible week. I thought we were going to be talking about AMC being in trouble again this week, Ashley, but no. 3 days later, we're never going to get to it. 3 days later, and things get thrown in our face very, very, very quickly. And we're going to see in the next, 2 weeks? Because I think it's about the time for quarterly reports to come out from big companies. Yeah. And so in the next 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to see a lot of companies come forward and talk about how coronavirus has impacted them, how it affects the stock market, how it impacts their bottom line, what they're going to do to recover. So we're going to be seeing that pop up in our faces over the next couple of weeks. So it's still going to be a very busy time. But for those of you that have been waiting for your physical comics are coming back. Now, if you're a Marvel fan at this point, you're still kind of like, where's my comics? But DC, Alterna, Viz, there's so many digital comics that are out there. We ran through a whole list of them yesterday on the Dueling Review podcast. I would encourage you to go and watch that or listen to it. You can watch it, I suppose, just sit there at your iPad and watch the numbers tick by. But there you go. Anything else going on, Ashley, before we get out of here this week?
I mean, so much is going on and also nothing at the same time.
Yeah, it's kind of that way. So here's the thing. Listen to scientists. Listen to what your governor says. Listen to state and local agencies. Visit your coronavirus update website, whatever it may be. For us, it's the Kansas Department of Health and or
CDC.org. If you've got nowhere else to go.
CDC is a great place to go. Look at those things. Best thing is stay home when you can. Go out only when necessary. Wash your hands. Don't touch your face. Practice social distancing. Check us out at majorspoilers.com and hang out with us in the Discord channel, because we're all hanging out and having fun and chatting. And we've made it through another year this week. And we're going to be back next week and talk with you again and see what's changed and have our reactions. Maybe Ashley will be here. Hopefully she will be. But until next time, everybody, do good, be good, and we will talk with you again real soon. Oh, you guys are so awesome. So glad that all of you were able to come and hang out with us today. Kevin 11 is so awesome. Thank you. Thank you to all the people that showed up for the first time. Hopefully you guys had a fun time. Hopefully you got something out of it. Late breaking news today. This was all this afternoon's news. The one J. Michael T says he loves Finally Friday. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hopefully for those of you that are new, you'll come back next week. You guys are all awesome. Look at all the awesome people that are patrons at patreon.com/majorspoilers. That's who all those names are. You can get your name on that list if you want. Patreon.com/majorspoilers. Oh, Pleasant Doom, thank you for being here. Happy to do this show. I've got a lot to say about this show coming up on Saturday's VIP live chat. So if you are a Gold VIP member, be on the lookout for that live stream tomorrow, Saturday, 1 o'clock p.m. Central Time. All right, everybody, that's it. Take care. Bye-bye.